You remember rewinding a VHS tape. You also remember downloading your first app. And somehow, nobody knows what to do with you. If you were born between 1976 and 1985, welcome to the weirdest generational gap in modern history. You're not Gen X. You're definitely not a millennial. You're something in between. Something researchers started calling a Xennial. And honestly, your brain went through something no other generation has. Let me explain. You grew up in two completely different worlds. Think about your childhood for a second. You memorized phone numbers. You passed folded notes in class. If you missed your favorite show on TV, tough luck, it was gone. Boredom? You just sat with it. There was no scrolling, no notifications, just you and whatever your imagination could cook up. Your parents didn't track your location. They didn't even know where you were half the time, and nobody panicked about it. You rode your bike until the streetlights came on. You figured things out alone. That was just life. Then, almost overnight, everything flipped. You went from having 3 ways to reach someone, home phone, work phone, or just showing up, to suddenly juggling 17 messaging apps. Friendster, MySpace, Facebook, smartphones, Wi-Fi. The whole digital explosion happened right as you were stepping into adulthood. Not slowly, not gradually, it just hit. And here's why that timing actually matters. Neuroscience tells us the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for adapting to new environments and learning complex skills, doesn't fully mature until around age 25. Research published in Nature Neuroscience confirmed this. So when the digital revolution happened, your brain was still in its most flexible, most absorbent state. You were young enough that new technology felt intuitive, but old enough to clearly remember life without it. That created something genuinely rare, a kind of technological bilingualism. You can sit through a dinner conversation without touching your phone, but you can also learn new software without breaking a sweat. You've lived on both sides. Most people haven't. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Right when you were supposed to be building your career, the 2008 financial crisis showed up and kicked the table over. Research on economic trauma shows that financial instability during your early career years leaves marks that don't just disappear when things get better. It rewires how you think about money, stability, and risk, sometimes permanently. So you've got a generation that mastered massive technological change and got economically blindsided at the worst possible moment. You learned to adapt because you literally had no choice. But somewhere underneath, there's this quiet voice asking, what if it all collapses again? Nobody really talks about that combination. And then there's the privacy thing. Your embarrassing moments, they just faded. That terrible haircut in 7th grade, that messy breakup, that one party you'd rather forget. No photos, no screenshots, no permanent digital record. Your memories got to do what memories are supposed to do. Shift, soften, become stories instead of evidence. Research on autobiographical memory says our brains are literally designed to edit and let go. But when everything is documented and searchable forever, that natural process gets disrupted in ways we're still trying to understand. You were the last generation to have that freedom, and you probably don't even realize how significant that is. So what does all this actually mean? If you were a Xennial, you probably feel like you don't fully belong anywhere. Too young for some conversations, too old for others, stuck between two worlds that don't quite overlap. But that's not a flaw. That is the superpower. You know what was lost when the world went digital. You also know what was gained. You carry both, the independence and the connection, the skepticism and the optimism, the analog heart and the digital brain. In a world that won't stop changing, you've already survived one of the biggest transitions in human history, and you did it without losing who you are. That's not nothing. That's everything. If this hit different for you, subscribe. I've got more coming that I think you'll feel in your chest. I'll see you in the next one.